The stars blinked silently in the night sky as humanity went about its everyday life. People walked their dogs, children played in parks, and workers rushed to catch their trains. Nobody suspected that this ordinary day would mark the beginning of the most extraordinary chapter in human history. It started with a strange signal detected by the Global Space Observatory. At first, the scientists thought it was a glitch in their systems. Then more observatories picked up the same readings. Something massive was moving toward Earth, and it was moving fast. Within hours, every telescope on the planet pointed toward the edge of our solar system. What they saw shocked even the most skeptical observers. A fleet of enormous ships, their metallic surfaces reflecting the distant sunlight. They weren't natural objects. They moved with purpose, adjusting their course in ways that defied natural physics. The news spread quickly. Panic erupted in major cities. Religious groups proclaimed the end times. Stock markets crashed worldwide. But amidst the chaos, the world's leaders acted with surprising unity. "We need to stay calm," President Lee announced in an emergency broadcast. "We've assembled our finest minds to assess the situation." The Earth Defense Council convened in a fortified underground facility beneath Geneva. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials from every major nation sat around a massive table, their faces pale under the harsh lighting. Satellite images of the approaching fleet filled the screens surrounding them. Admiral Hannah Kim stood up, her uniform crisp despite having been awake for 36 hours straight. At 53, she had commanded peacekeeping missions across the globe, but nothing had prepared her for this. "They'll reach Earth's orbit within 48 hours, she said, pointing to the projection. "Their technology is unlike anything we've ever seen." The room fell silent when all communication systems suddenly activated at once. Every phone, television, and radio on the planet broadcast the same message in perfect English. "People of Earth, we are the Ord Collective. Your resources are required for our continued expansion. Surrender all territorial claims and submit to integration or be erased from existence. You have 2 Earth days to comply." The message repeated in every known human language, leaving no doubt about its meaning. In the council chamber, voices erupted in panic. Some military leaders immediately proposed launching every nuclear weapon in Earth's arsenal. Others suggested immediate surrender to save lives. "Silence!" shouted Admiral Kim, her voice cutting through the noise. The room quieted as all eyes turned to her. She had been studying the aliens' approach pattern and communication style with intense focus. "They're following a pattern," Kim said. "Their ships arranged in a specific formation, their message delivered in this particular way. I've seen similar tactics in psychological warfare." She pulled up historical Earth conflict data on the main screen. In human warfare, this approach typically indicates confidence based on previous successes. "What are you suggesting?" asked Dr. Jin, the council's lead xenobiologist. "I'm saying they've done this before," Kim replied. "Many times. They expect 2 responses, either immediate surrender or futile resistance." The council members exchanged nervous glances as Admiral Kim continued. "So let's give them something they don't expect. 1 warning, 1 chance to turn back." Laughter erupted from several military leaders. "A warning? They crossed galaxies to get here, and you want to warn them?" General Thompson asked incredulously. Kim remained steady. "Yes, we show them exactly who they're dealing with. Not just our weapons, our history, our determination. Humans have been fighting and surviving since we first picked up sticks and stones. We'll show them what happened to everyone who underestimated us throughout history." After hours of heated debate, the council narrowly approved Kim's plan. A small delegation would meet with the aliens, while Earth prepared for all possibilities. When the Ord received the request for a meeting, their response came quickly. They would allow 3 human representatives aboard their command ship. Admiral Kim led the delegation, accompanied by Dr. Jin and UN Secretary Patel. As their shuttle approached the alien mothership, the scale of what humanity faced became clear. The vessel was larger than Manhattan, its surface covered with technology beyond human understanding. Inside, they were led through corridors of strange metal that seemed alive, pulsing with blue light. The Ord representatives waited in a circular chamber, tall beings with bluish skin and eyes that reflected light like a cat's. "Your request for negotiation is unusual," the lead Ord stated in that same perfect English. "Most species simply surrender when they see our fleet." "We're not most species," Admiral Kim replied, activating the presentation they had prepared. On the screen appeared humanity's long, bloody history, from ancient battles to modern warfare. The presentation showed the ingenious ways humans had developed to fight and survive against overwhelming odds. It highlighted humanity's determination, our willingness to sacrifice, and our refusal to surrender, even in the darkest hours. "So we have conquered 17 civilizations more technologically advanced than yours," the Ord leader stated dismissively. "Your projectile weapons and primitive nuclear devices cannot harm our ships." Admiral Kim stepped forward, her eyes never leaving the alien's face. "You misunderstand. This isn't a negotiation. This is your one warning. We've only recently stopped fighting ourselves. Imagine what we'll do to you." The Ord representatives exchanged glances that even across species, barriers clearly communicated amusement. They viewed humans as primitive beings, barely worth the effort of conquest. "So you have 24 hours to surrender," the Ord leader stated. "After that, we begin the erasure process." As the human delegation returned to Earth, Admiral Kim knew the real work was just beginning. The Ord had dismissed humanity's warning, exactly as she predicted they would. Now it was time to show them how costly that mistake would be. The shuttle carrying Admiral Kim and her team docked back at the United Nations Space Command headquarters. The mood was tense as they stepped out. Everyone wanted to know how the aliens had responded to humanity's message. "They laughed at us," Kim said simply as she walked briskly through the corridor. Military personnel and scientists moved aside, watching her with a mixture of fear and hope. Few had slept since the alien fleet appeared. In the main situation room, the Defense Council waited. Representatives from every major nation sat around the large circular table. The room fell silent as Admiral Kim entered. She didn't waste time with formalities. "The Ord Collective has given us 24 hours to surrender," she announced. "After that, they start what they call the erasure process." Murmurs spread around the table. President Choi of the East Asian Alliance stood up. "And what exactly is this erasure process?" Dr. Jin, who had accompanied Admiral Kim to the alien ship, pulled up images on the main screen. "Based on our readings and what they showed us, they plan to systematically destroy our military installations, then our major cities, and finally harvest what remains of Earth's resources." "Did they show any willingness to negotiate?" asked Ambassador Rodriguez. "None," replied Kim. "They've done this 17 times before. They see us as primitive and beneath their concern." The room erupted into arguments. Some officials insisted on immediate surrender to save lives. Others wanted to launch every weapon in Earth's arsenal right away. Admiral Kim raised her hand, and the room gradually quieted. "I've studied their technology and behavior. They are powerful, yes, but they're also arrogant. That's their weakness." She walked to the center of the room where a holographic projection of Earth appeared, surrounded by the positions of the Ord fleet. "They expect us to either surrender or launch a desperate, uncoordinated attack. What they don't expect is this." She pressed a button on her wrist device, and the projection changed to show something that made several council members gasp. "Is that real?" asked General Wang, leaning forward in his seat. "Completely," replied Kim. "Protocol Shield has been in development for 40 years, ever since we found that crashed scout ship in the Gobi Desert in 1987. The hologram showed hidden installations across Earth, beneath oceans, inside mountains, and in orbit, disguised as regular satellites, weapons systems unlike anything publicly known. Most of our conventional military technology is indeed primitive compared to theirs," explained Kim. "But these systems were reverse-engineered from their own technology. We've kept them hidden, waiting for exactly this situation." Defense Minister Patel shook his head in disbelief. "I've been in government for 30 years. How was this kept secret?" Admiral Kim smiled grimly. "Need-to-know basis." After the Cold War, the world powers realized that our greatest threat might come from beyond Earth. A small group has been working on this project across generations. Only when the alien fleet appeared was I authorized to bring this to the full. Council, she continued. The Ord believe they're facing a typical pre-space civilization. They have no idea we've been preparing for them specifically. But will it be enough? Asked Dr. Yoon, the renowned physicist who had helped develop some of Earth's most advanced defense systems. Honestly, we don't know, admitted Kim. But we've studied their attack patterns from the data in the scout ship. They always follow the same process. It's worked for them 17 times, so they see no reason to change. That predictability is something we can use. The Council voted. The decision was nearly unanimous. They would fight. As the Council members left to prepare their respective nations, Admiral Kim remained behind with a small group of military and scientific leaders. They gathered around a secure terminal. Protocol. SHIELD has 3 phases, explained Kim, bringing up detailed schematics. First, we let them think they're winning. Our conventional forces will engage them in what appears to be a desperate last stand. The screen showed military bases around the world preparing what looked like standard defensive measures: fighter jets, missile installations, naval vessels. Meanwhile, Kim continued, touching the screen to show the second phase, our hidden installations will power up. The technology uses their own energy signatures against them. Their shields operate on a frequency we can disrupt. Dr. Yoon pointed to several locations on the map. These are the key points. If we lose any of these installations, the plan fails. The final phase showed Earth's counterattack. It was audacious, perhaps impossible, but it was humanity's best hope. As the meeting concluded, Admiral Kim received an alert. The Ord fleet had begun moving into attack position earlier than expected. They're not waiting the full 24 hours, she announced grimly. Typical. They're so confident they don't even respect their own ultimatum. Across the globe, people huddled with loved ones. Some prayed, some partied like it was their last day alive, and many just waited in quiet fear. They had been told only that negotiations were ongoing. The full truth, that Earth was about to engage in its first interstellar war, remained known only to those with the highest clearance. In military bases worldwide, soldiers said goodbye to families without telling them why. They knew only that duty called, possibly for the last time. Admiral Kim stood at the main command center in the Cheyenne Mountain complex, watching as the alien fleet moved into position. Beside her, the Joint Chiefs of Staff from nations that had been enemies just days before now stood shoulder to shoulder. Protocol shield activation in T-10 minutes, announced the system's AI. Kim looked at the worried faces around her. Many doubted the plan would work. Some believed surrender would have been wiser, but all were united in humanity's most desperate hour. They came expecting to find a divided, primitive species ready for harvest, Kim said. Instead, they'll find something they've never encountered before, humans with our backs against the wall. On screens around the world, the Ord fleet began to glow as they charged their weapons. The hour of humanity's greatest test had arrived. 1 mile beneath the Pacific Ocean floor, in a facility unknown to 99.9% of the world's population, Dr. Tay, Park hadn't slept in 36 hours. His eyes burned as he stared at the holographic display showing the alien fleet's formation. Around him, a team of the world's most brilliant scientists worked in focused silence, the weight of humanity's survival heavy on their shoulders. They're holding position, said Dr. Park, rubbing his bloodshot eyes. Scanning our defenses but not engaging yet. Lisa, his chief engineer, looked up from her station. They must be confused. They expected either surrender or obvious military preparation. Dr. Park allowed himself a small smile. That confusion had been part of Admiral Kim's strategy. While the world's conventional military forces remained conspicuously inactive, the real work happened in secret facilities like this one, Operation Citadel, the headquarters of humanity's true defense system. The Ord operate on patterns, Dr. Park explained to the newer team members. They've conquered 17 civilizations using the same tactics. When a species refuses to surrender, the Ord expect to see frantic military mobilization, missiles being armed, jets scrambling, naval vessels positioning. When they don't see that, they get suspicious, finished Lisa. Or overconfident, added Dr. Park. Either works in our favor. It buys us time. He walked to the center of the room where a large cylindrical device hummed with energy. It was the heart of Earth's defense system, a quantum frequency modulator. The technology looked both alien and human, a hybrid of engineering principles from two worlds. 39 years earlier, a small Ord scout ship had crashed in a remote area. World leaders had quickly contained the site, telling the public it was just a meteor. In reality, it was Earth's first contact with the Ord collective, a silent warning of what might someday come. Instead of revealing the discovery, a secret coalition of scientists and military experts from rival nations had formed to study the technology and prepare for the visitors' eventual return. Now, in facilities hidden across the planet, that decades-long preparation was being put to the test. "Status report," Dr. Park called out. Around the room, team leaders responded. "Atlantic Hub online. Himalayan array at 96% capacity. Sahara nodes fully charged. Orbital platforms in position. Cloaking systems holding." Dr. Park nodded, but his face remained tense. On paper, their defense system was ready. In reality, they were attempting something never done before, using the Ord's own quantum technology against them. The theory was sound, but would it work against the full might of an alien armada? His tablet beeped with an incoming transmission. Admiral Kim's face appeared on screen. "Dr. Park, the Ord commander has requested another meeting." They're puzzled. "By our inaction." "Good," replied Park. "The longer they stay confused, the more time we have to perfect the calibration." "How much longer do you need?" Kim asked, her voice tense but controlled. Dr. Park looked at the progress bars on his main display. 3 hours minimum. 5 would be better. "I'll try to buy you 4, Kim replied. "No guarantees." After the transmission ended, Dr. Park turned to his team. "You heard the Admiral. We've got 4 hours to ensure humanity has a future." Above ground, life carried on with an eerie normalcy. People went to work. Children attended school, though every few minutes eyes turned skyward. The government had announced the presence of unidentified objects in orbit, but downplayed the threat to prevent panic. Still, many sensed that something historic was happening. In space, the Ord command ship received Admiral Kim's shuttle once again. The alien commander, who called himself Overseer, towered over the human delegation. "Your behavior is irregular," the Overseer stated, its voice unnaturally smooth. "Previous species showed visible defense preparations. Your military forces remain in standard positions." Admiral Kim kept her face neutral. "Perhaps humans respond differently to threats than the others you've encountered." The Overseer's large, reflective eyes studied her. "Our scans detect minimal energy signatures from your weapon systems. Your nuclear arsenals remain inactive. Explain." "Maybe we've accepted our fate," Kim suggested with a shrug. "Or maybe we're not as primitive as you think." Meanwhile, in the underwater facility, Dr. Park worked frantically with his team to solve a critical problem. The quantum alignment was drifting out of sync. If they couldn't stabilize it, the entire defense system would fail when activated. "The reference pattern from the scout ship isn't matching their current shield frequency," Lisa reported, frustration evident in her voice. "They must have upgraded their systems since that scout crashed." Dr. Park stared at the alien equations scrolling across his screen. For decades, he had dedicated his life to understanding the Ord technology. Now, when it mattered most, the solution seemed just beyond his grasp. Then it hit him. "We're approaching this wrong," he said suddenly, pushing away from his workstation. "We've been trying to match their frequency exactly. But what if instead we create a harmonic resonance?" He rushed to the main console and began inputting new calculations. "It's like pushing a swing. You don't push at random times. You push with the swing's natural rhythm." Understanding dawned on Lisa's face. "We don't need to match their shields." "Exactly. We just need to find the natural harmonic that will disrupt them," finished Park, his fingers flying over the controls. Across the globe, in similar hidden facilities, teams received the new calculations. The defense grid began recalibrating, each installation adjusting to create a perfectly synchronized harmonic pattern. In space, Admiral Kim was stalling for time, explaining aspects of human culture to the increasingly impatient Overseer. "Humans are unique among species," she was saying. "We've spent most of our history fighting ourselves. Our technology evolved primarily to kill each other more efficiently. The Overseer made a dismissive gesture. We have reviewed your military capabilities. Your most advanced weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Kim nodded slowly. That's probably true, but there's something you should understand about humans. We're highly adaptable. When faced with superior force, we don't just surrender, we find weaknesses, we exploit them. There are no weaknesses in the Ord Collective, the Overseer stated flatly. Kim's communicator vibrated subtly against her wrist. It was the signal from Dr. Park. The defense system was ready. Perhaps you're right, she conceded, standing up, but I believe our time for talking has ended. As Admiral Kim's shuttle departed the Ord command ship, the Overseer gave the order. The time for analysis was over. The Ord fleet would begin the erasure process immediately. Thousands of weapon ports opened across the alien armada, glowing with energy. The Ord expected token resistance at best, perhaps a few nuclear missiles easily deflected by their advanced shields. What they didn't expect was what happened next. Deep beneath the ocean, Dr. Park took a deep breath and pressed his palm against the activation scanner. May our children forgive us if we've calculated wrong, he whispered. Then, more loudly, initiate protocol shield. Around the world, hidden installations powered up simultaneously. The quantum defense grid, humanity's greatest secret and last hope, awakened to meet humanity's greatest threat. The massive Ord warship, unrelenting triumph, broke through Earth's atmosphere with a thunderous roar that shattered windows for miles below. Commander Vexnar stood on the command deck, his four eyes narrowed in anticipation as Earth's major cities appeared on the view screen. His segmented exoskeleton gleamed under the ship's lights as he turned to his second-in-command. "Begin the first wave," he ordered, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. "Target their military installations first, then power grids. Standard conquest protocol." Behind him, the bridge crew worked silently, their limbs moving with practiced efficiency. The Ord had conquered 17 worlds in the last century alone. This backward planet would be no different. "Sir," his weapons officer called out, "the humans appear to be scrambling aircraft. Primitive jet propulsion systems." Commander Vexnar made a sound that passed for laughter among his kind. "How quaint. Let them come. It will make for an interesting demonstration." 500 miles below, in a command bunker buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Kim watched as the Ord invasion fleet positioned itself in Earth's atmosphere. Around her, the command center hummed with activity, but nobody showed panic. Instead, there was a sense of grim determination, of plans long prepared finally being executed. "Admiral, all defense grid stations report ready," said Colonel Rivera, her tactical officer. "Waiting for your command." Kim's weathered face betrayed no emotion as she studied the holographic display showing the Ord fleet, over 200 ships of various sizes, arranged in the invaders' signature crescent formation. Exactly as their intelligence had predicted. "The Ord sensors are tracking our decoy responses," reported Lieutenant Cho from the communication station. "They believe we're scrambling conventional aircraft and ground forces." Kim nodded. "Maintain the deception. Let them think we're throwing everything we have at them." She took a deep breath before adding, "Which, in a manner of speaking, we are." She pressed her palm against the command console, activating the genetic verification protocol. A soft blue light scanned her hand, then pulsed with confirmation. Authorization. Prometheus Protocol. Authentication. Kim Admiral Theta 7 Echo. The command center's lighting shifted to a deep blue as systems that had remained dormant for decades suddenly activated. "Quantum link established," announced the AI system. "All defense nodes online and synchronized." Kim looked around at her staff, the men and women who had trained their entire careers for this moment, who had kept secrets even from their families. "For 70 years we've prepared for this day," she said quietly, "since the first extraterrestrial. Craft was recovered in 1947. Now we find out if it was enough." High above Earth, the Ord launched their first attack. Energy beams lanced down from a dozen warships, targeting military bases, power stations, and communication hubs. Commander Vexnar watched with satisfaction as explosions bloomed across the North American continent. "Pathetic," he muttered. No energy shields, no atmospheric defenses, just as our scouts reported. "Sir," his sensor officer called out, suddenly anxious, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the planet's surface. Multiple locations, all activating simultaneously." Vexnar waved a dismissive limb. "Their nuclear arsenals, no doubt. Primitive fission weapons. Raise radiation shields as a precaution." But what happened next wasn't a nuclear launch. Across the globe, in locations ranging from desert outposts to underwater facilities, from mountain bunkers to sites disguised as ordinary farms, thousands of seemingly unrelated structures suddenly activated. Satellite dishes rotated in perfect unison. Power lines glowed with energy never meant for household use. Ordinary-looking buildings split open to reveal gleaming arrays of technology that had never appeared in any public record. In the command bunker, Colonel Rivera watched the synchronization complete. "Quantum link at 100%, Admiral. All nodes reporting ready." Kim's fingers hovered over the activation control. "Mankind has debated for centuries whether we're alone in the universe," she said. "We've known the truth since before I was born. We just needed time to prepare." She pressed the control. "Execute." On the unrelenting Triumph, the first warning came too late. The sensor officer barely had time to shout before the ship shuddered violently. "What was that?" demanded Vexnar, gripping his command chair as the lights flickered. "Unknown energy. Signature," the science officer reported, confusion evident in his voice. It's everywhere. Thousands of synchronized energy pulses, all perfectly calibrated to create a harmonic resonance against our shield frequency." Vexnar slammed a clawed appendage against his console. "Impossible! Our shield frequencies are randomized precisely. To prevent such targeting." Another hit rocked the ship harder this time. Warning signals blared across the command deck. "Forward shields failing," reported the defensive systems officer. "The energy weapons are—" "Sir, they're quantum-linked. They're hitting us from thousands of locations simultaneously, but functioning as a single weapon system." Outside the viewports, Vexnar watched in disbelief as 3 smaller oared vessels suddenly exploded, their shields collapsing under the synchronized. "Assault, change formation," he ordered. "Disperse the fleet. Target those weapon emplacements," but the human defense system was everywhere. Disguised as ordinary structures, hidden underground beneath the oceans, even mounted on what had appeared to be primitive satellites, all now revealing their true purpose. On the ground, in cities across the world, civilians watched in awe as beams of blue-white energy shot upward from countless unexpected sources. Office buildings, radio towers, highway overpasses, farm silos, structures they had passed every day without a second thought, were now part of Earth's defense. In New Delhi, a young woman stared as the decorative fountain in the city center split apart, revealing a massive energy cannon that swiveled skyward and joined the attack. In Rio de Janeiro, tourists gasped as the famous statue of Christ the Redeemer projected a massive energy field that deflected an awed bombardment aimed at the city. Back in the command bunker, Admiral Kim watched the battle unfold through multiple feeds. The linked quantum weapons were having an effect, but the awed fleet was massive and already adapting to the surprise. "They're changing shield configurations," Rivera reported. "Quantum effectiveness dropping to 68%. Kim nodded grimly. "They adapt quickly, just as the files warned. Initiate Phase 2. Across the globe, a second layer of defenses activated. What appeared to be conventional military jets suddenly shed their outer hulls, revealing sleek craft of entirely different design. Their engines made no sound as they accelerated to speeds no publicly known aircraft could achieve. In orbit, satellite networks thought to be for communication or weather monitoring realigned themselves into defensive grids, creating energy fields. Around major population centers, the awed invasion fleet, expecting an easy conquest, found itself in a genuine battle. Several of their smaller vessels had already fallen, and even the larger warships were taking damage. Commander Vexnar, his confidence shaken but pride intact, opened a communication channel to Earth. "This is unexpected," he admitted, his translated voice booming across emergency broadcast systems worldwide. "You have hidden your true technological level from our observers. Clever, but ultimately futile. To his surprise, the response came immediately, a direct link to his command deck showing a human female in a military uniform. "This is Admiral Kim of Earth's Unified Defense Command," she said calmly. "And you're right about one thing, we have been hiding." "How?" demanded Vexnar. "Our scouts observed your civilization for decades. Your technology is primitive, your weapons ineffective." Kim's expression remained impassive. "What your scouts saw was what we wanted them to see. Since 1947, when we recovered your scout ship in New Mexico, we've been preparing. Every major nation received pieces of your technology. Every government knew what was coming sooner or later." Vexnar's 4 eyes blinked in astonishment. "Impossible. That scout was destroyed with all hands." "Not quite all," Kim replied. "And we learned much from both the survivor and the wreckage. Enough to recognize Ord technology and begin adapting it to our purposes. Everything you think you know about Earth's capabilities is carefully crafted misdirection." As if to emphasize her point, another Ord vessel exploded in the atmosphere above Brazil. Vexnar cut the transmission, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Intensify the attack. All vessels, full bombardment of their major cities. We will break their will." The Ord fleet regrouped and launched a devastating counterattack. Energy beams carved trenches through major cities. Kinetic projectiles cratered military bases. Millions of lives were lost in the first hour of intensified combat. But Earth's hidden defenses continued to fight back. For every defense node the Ord destroyed, 3 more activated elsewhere. The quantum-linked weapons adjusted their harmonics, finding new ways to penetrate the constantly changing Ord shields. By nightfall, smoke rose from cities on every continent. The devastation was catastrophic, but nothing like the easy conquest the Ord had anticipated. Nearly a quarter of their invasion fleet had been destroyed or crippled, an unprecedented setback. In the command bunker, now running on backup systems after taking a direct hit, Admiral Kim received damage reports from around the world. The casualties were staggering, the infrastructure damage severe, but humanity was still in the fight. "They're pulling back to high orbit," Rivera reported, a streak of blood drying on her forehead from a console explosion earlier. "Regrouping," Kim nodded wearily. "They'll be back, with a new strategy, but now they know." "Know what, Admiral?" asked a young lieutenant, helping distribute emergency rations to the command staff. Kim looked at the tactical display, where the remaining Ord ships glowed like angry red stars above their wounded planet. "That conquering Earth will cost them more than they ever imagined." Her eyes narrowed with determination. "And we're just getting started." Dawn broke over a changed world. Smoke hung like shrouds over the ruins of once great cities. The Ord invasion fleet had pulled back to high orbit, regrouping after the unexpected resistance that had cost them nearly a third of their armada. From space, Earth looked wounded. Burn scars marking the sites of major battles, dust clouds obscuring entire regions. In what remained of the Rocky Mountain command bunker, Admiral Kim studied the holographic display showing the Ord fleet's new formation. Her uniform was torn and stained, her face streaked with grime. She hadn't slept in 36 hours. "They're shifting to a defensive posture," noted Colonel Rivera, her voice hoarse from shouting orders through communications. "Failures. Their remaining ships are clustering to protect the damaged vessels." Kim nodded slowly. "They're reassessing. They expected to crush us in hours. Now they need a new strategy." Lieutenant Cho limped over from the communications station, his leg bandaged where falling debris had struck him during an attack. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Ord command ship. They're requesting a parley." Murmurs spread through the command center. The Ord requesting talks, unheard of in all their known history of conquest. "Put it through," Kim ordered. Straightening her uniform as best she could, the main screen flickered to life, showing Commander Vexnar. The Ord leader's exoskeleton was cracked in places, green fluid seeping from a wound on what passed for his shoulder. Behind him, the bridge of the unrelenting Triumph showed signs of heavy damage. "Admiral Kim," Vexnar's translated voice rumbled, "your resistance has been noteworthy." Kim's expression remained neutral. "I believe unexpected is the word you're searching for, Commander." Vexnar's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation in his species. "Indeed, our intelligence was clearly flawed. Your technological capabilities far exceed our estimates. Not flawed, Kim corrected. Deliberately misled. As I told you yesterday, we've been preparing for this moment since 1947. The awed commander leaned closer to the screen. What I wish to understand is how. How did an isolated species on a single world develop countermeasures to technology the Ord have perfected over millennia of conquest? Our quantum-shielded vessels have subdued 17 civilizations, some far more advanced than yours appeared to be. Kim considered her answer carefully. Around her, the remaining command staff watched in silence, aware that this conversation might determine humanity's future. You made a fundamental error in your assessment of our species, Commander, she finally said. You saw our divisions, our conflicts, our apparent technological limitations, and you assumed weakness. She stepped closer to the screen. What you failed to understand is that humans evolved as both predator and prey. Unlike the Ord, who evolved as pure apex predators on your world, we spent millennia being hunted before becoming hunters ourselves. It's written into our DNA, the constant balance between aggression and survival. The Admiral gestured to a nearby lieutenant, who handed her a tablet. She held it up to show ancient cave paintings depicting early humans hunting mammoths alongside images of humans fleeing from saber-toothed cats. This duality made us uniquely adaptable. When we recovered your scout ship, when we realized what waited among the stars, we did what humans have always done when threatened. We prepared. We innovated. We unified despite our differences. Impossible, Vexnar insisted. Our observers reported your nations remained divided, often in conflict. Kim actually smiled at this. Another misdirection. After the recovered technology was shared among world powers in the 1950s, a secret accord was reached. Public divisions would continue. They're part of our nature, after all, but beneath the surface, against external threats, humanity would stand as one. She set down the tablet. Every major technological breakthrough of the past 70 years has had two versions, the public one and the one incorporating what we learned from your technology. The internet, satellites, quantum computing, all developed along two parallel tracks, one visible, one hidden. Vexnar's multiple eyes blinked in sequence as he processed this information. You sacrificed millions of your own kind in this deception? No, Kim said firmly. You sacrificed them when you chose invasion over peaceful contact. We gave you one chance, Commander. One signal, sent when your fleet first entered our solar system, offering communication. You ignored it. She hadn't expected the Ord to accept peace. Their history made that clear. But the offer had been necessary. Human ethics demanded at least the attempt. The bunker shook as another Ord bombardment struck somewhere on the surface. Dust rained from the ceiling. Your resistance is impressive but futile, Vexnar said, confidence returning to his voice. We still outnumber your defenses. We can still reduce your world to ash, even at greater cost than anticipated. Perhaps, Kim acknowledged. But before you make that decision, there's something else you should know. She nodded to Colonel Rivera, who activated a secondary display. Around the world, thousands of previously hidden installations began a synchronized power-up sequence. In orbit, satellites previously thought destroyed suddenly reactivated, revealing their damaged appearances to be another deception. What you've encountered so far has been our defensive systems, Kim explained. You haven't yet seen our offensive capabilities. This was humanity's final gambit, their last layer of deception. The offensive systems were fewer in number, many destroyed in the initial attack, but the Ord didn't need to know that. We anticipated you might penetrate our first layers of defense, Kim continued, her bluff delivered with perfect confidence. So we designed our offensive systems to activate only after we gathered data on your actual capabilities in combat. Vexnar's posture changed subtly, uncertainty replacing arrogance. You expect me to believe your weapons would be more effective than what we've already faced? The quantum link technology you've encountered was reverse-engineered from your scout ship's defensive systems, Kim replied. Our offensive systems were developed from your weapons technology. Shall we demonstrate? Without waiting for a response, she nodded to Rivera again. Across the globe, the remaining defense installations fired a synchronized pulse at a single, already damaged Ord vessel. The ship's shields, designed to withstand enormous force, shattered instantly under the precisely calibrated attack. The vessel itself broke apart, debris scattering across Earth's orbit. The message was clear: Earth could target and destroy individual ships at will. It was, in truth, the last coordinated attack they could manage with their damaged systems. But, again, the Ord had no way of knowing that. Silence stretched between the two commanders, broken only by the distant sound of explosions on the surface. Finally, Vexnar spoke. "The Ord Empire does not retreat." "Call it a strategic withdrawal, then," Kim suggested. "Save the remainder of your fleet. Report that this world requires further study before conquest can be attempted." Another moment of silence. "The Ord will remember this defiance," Vexnar said at last. "Good," Kim replied simply. "And the Ord should avoid this system in the future. We will be better prepared next time." The communication ended abruptly. On the tactical display, the Ord fleet began to move, slowly at first, then with increasing speed as they broke orbit and headed toward the outer solar system. The command center erupted in cheers and sobs of relief. People who had worked together professionally for years now embraced, overcome by emotion. Humanity had faced its greatest test and survived. Admiral Kim allowed herself a moment of satisfaction before returning to the practical matters at hand. "Status report on all remaining defense systems," she ordered, "and begin recovery operations worldwide." As her staff returned to their duties with renewed energy, Kim moved to a quiet corner of the bunker, where a captured Ord data core had been connected to Earth's systems. The translation algorithms had finally cracked its encryption during the battle. Lieutenant Cho joined her, limping up to report his findings. "Admiral, we've discovered something significant in their navigation database. Star charts, colony locations, detailed information on all 17 civilizations the Ord have conquered." He pulled up the data, showing solar systems marked with Ord occupation symbols. Some of these worlds were subjugated centuries ago, others more recently. But according to their records, the conquered species still exist, serving as slave labor. For the Ord Empire, Kim studied the star charts carefully, memorizing the locations. 17 civilizations, some perhaps more advanced than humanity, others less so, all living under Ord domination. "Lieutenant," she said quietly, "classify this information as Priority Alpha. Share it only with the Unified Defense Council." "Yes, Admiral," Cho replied. "May I ask why?" Kim looked up at the tactical display, where the retreating Ord fleet was now little more than dots leaving Earth's space. "Because humanity's work isn't done," she said. "We built these defenses to protect ourselves, but now we know there are others who couldn't do the same." For the first time since the invasion began, Admiral Kim felt something beyond the grim determination of survival, a sense of purpose that extended beyond Earth itself. "Begin calculations for potential interstellar travel using the Ord data," she ordered, "and prepare a report on their weaknesses based on our combat experience." As dawn broke fully across the wounded but undefeated planet, Admiral Kim looked toward the stars with new resolve. Earth had survived its trial by fire. Its people would rebuild, stronger than before, more unified despite their differences, and then, when they were ready, humanity would bring the same gift to those 17 subjugated worlds that had not been able to resist as Earth had done: the gift of liberation.